Magical Tuesday, and welcome to Heart and Mind. I'm Dr. Dina McMillan, and I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for joining me here. Today is a really special episode. It almost seems like, well, maybe I should put this on Valentine's Day. I'm wearing red. Well, the red is because it's July and it's almost the 4th of July, and I think this is something a lot of you will appreciate. So, episode 46, improve all of your relationships. Let's get started. Now, no more boring Tuesdays. This is what I promised you. This is what I'm delivering. You're going to find information here from me that you will not find other places. This is new, it's different, and everything I do is designed to be used right away and very effectively. So I hope you will tell your friends. I hope you will join me every week. As you know, we are live. Any platform that you're watching this on, please sign in. And then you can leave comments, ask questions as we go and get the answers. You don't have to wait. You don't have to send me an email. You don't have to pay a therapist. You can ask, get the answer for free, and get it right away. Also, please know if you have a question, probably a lot of other people do too. So go ahead and ask, make your comments. Let me know what's going on every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. You know there's nothing interesting going on Tuesday nights except this show. So welcome. And if you are watching the recording, you can watch this recorded version of the show on Daily Clout. I usually upload the episodes on my X feed, which is at Dr. Dina1. You can watch it on Rumble. You can watch it on YouTube. Just make sure you get this information in your head. Everybody's going to wonder, why all of a sudden are you so much smarter about your relationships with other people, personal and professional? It's this show. It's you getting the information and then using it. Now, why is this show so different? One of the reasons I keep telling you, and I'm not bragging, I'm not claiming something that isn't true. I'm a social psychologist. I'm not a clinical psychologist. Last week, we had clinical psychologist J.D. Haldigan. He's actually a psychologist. He's a researcher. He's a lot of things. But his background is mainly in clinical psychology, which is extremely valuable, which is why I had him on. But I'm a social psychologist, and what we do, we study how the brain works. We study how you learn, how you're influenced and persuaded, how you're manipulated and coerced, indoctrinated and brainwashed. And what I do is take that knowledge out of the ivory tower, out of academia, and I share it with you so you can protect yourself and your loved ones from being manipulated by people who know these tactics, but they don't teach this in schools, at least not yet. I actually have a program for the school that would help, but in the meantime, you've got this show. Now, speaking of things you need to know, things that will help your life enormously, and you will support Daily Clout's historic work, please get your own copy of the Pfizer papers. Dr. Naomi Wolf and Amy Kelly and a whole bevy of really brave experts, researchers, doctors, physicians, cardiologists, etc. They went through, looked through these papers, and then brought the information out and shared it with the public. This is information, by the way, that Pfizer went to court to try to protect and keep hidden for 75 years. So get your own copy, because you're the type of people, this audience is savvy. You want to know what's going on. You don't want to just be told what to do and not given the answer, or be lied to and not know the difference. So get your own copy of the Pfizer papers. Now, while you're on Amazon, you can also get copies of my books. So you can get the paperback copy of my book, But He Says He Loves Me, which explains in detail, it walks you through how an abuser spots a potential romantic target and what he does and says to lure that person in and trap them in the relationship. Now, if you don't have time to read a paperback, I made the book as short as possible, but if you don't have time to read a paperback book, that's okay. I also have it on the audio version. So you can get the audio version that you listen to while you're doing housework, while you're walking around, while you're driving to and from your office. And by the way, even though it says Buddy Says He Loves Me, and it is a book about romantic relationships, nothing I do only stays in the romantic realm. If you know this information, if you recognize these tactics, they're very similar to the tactics that are used by your colleagues, your family members, political groups, social causes to manipulate, influence, persuade, and control you. You know, and you have a superpower, and it's transferable all throughout your life. If you're short on time again, it's the reason I wrote brief overview of abusers' strategies and tactics. You can use it as a quick reference. You meet somebody, you're like, something they did seemed kind of dodgy. You can look it up. The book is only $10 and it takes less than an hour to read, and it's full of pictures. It's like a magazine article, but it has that core info that you really need to have. Now, today's topic. One of the reasons I keep emphasizing it's important that you contact me somehow. Contact me here on the show, because I get a lot of the topics for my weekly show from real life situations that happen, real life conversations, real life approaches from new clients. And I start seeing a theme, I start seeing a pattern, and I recognize people probably need to know this. So I decided, especially after last week when we were talking about, and the week before, talking about how you can win in an argument. A lot of people are having trouble in their relationships. So I decided to go a little bit more comprehensive today, and we're going to talk about how to improve all of your relationships. We're going to keep it simple, stupid. We're going to keep it simple. It's going to be simple and effective, and it's going to work. Ever wonder why your brain feels foggy even when you're eating clean and exercising? It may not be burnout. It could be parasites. Groundbreaking research from Dr. Alan MacDonald revealed a direct link between chronic parasitic infections and neurological diseases like multiple sclerosis. Wow. Parasites can cause inflammation, nerve damage, and long-term cognitive decline. More reason to do a full body cleanse at least once a year. The wellness company has a solution for you. Ivermectin plus menbendazole, the gold standard parasitic solution, now combined in one cleanse combo, designed to eliminate harmful invaders and support your immune system naturally. Medical grade, not some trendy herbal gimmicks. Fill out a quick intake form and get a 3-month supply shipped straight to your door. Maha is officially here, and the wellness company is making hard-to-get medications digitally accessible so you can live your best life. Head to Daily Clout Health and use the code DailyClout to save $60 off plus free shipping on all orders. Cleanse your body today. Now, once again, people have asked me after the show, how do we reach you? Here's how to reach me. I have a company called Ethical Strategic Solutions. And the company is not just me, but it is a company that I began. And I do a lot of different work. We're going to talk about it at the end, but that's my company, Ethical Strategic Solutions. You can also reach me drdinablog@gmail.com. Now, my website is being revised. It should be up within the next few weeks. I'm so excited. We're doing all kinds of improvements, make it easier for you to get information and for you to reach me. But this show today, I had to put it because I looked back over the last 6 months, and it's the top reason I get contacted by individuals, couples, and families. They're using now my service, my business, as you know, works, and we're going to talk about it, works with policy. It works with, I do seminars, workshops, training, but I also do on the smaller level. I also help individuals and couples and families who are going through some times and need some assistance. And just having some general information that can help their relationships. After I repeated this like 4 times, I was like, yeah, maybe it might be a good idea for me to actually discuss this on the show, because it just kept coming up this week. So I promise you, what I am offering, what I offer every week, as you know, if you watched this show before, is not a fake cure-all. It's solid tips that work. I only want things that work. Everywhere in my life, I am held highly accountable for what I say and do. I'm not one of those people who can get away with things. If I were a different political party or whatever, or looked different, maybe I could get away with it, or had really indulgent celebrity parents or something. But no. So these are solid tips that will actually work to improve your relationships, all of your relationships. And I would say, suggestion 1, think about which relationships you really want to change, you want to improve. And we're going to start small. In this discussion, we're going to get to other people, but before we do, we're going to talk about how you change your relationship with yourself, how you become a different person, which will impact, it will have flow-on effect in every relationship you have. If you're like me and you're getting to that age where your body just hurts all the time, then listen up. Don't reach for another painkiller until you learn about this little-known turmeric hack for pain and inflammation. You've probably already heard about turmeric being used to fight inflammation and joint pain. But here's the thing, not all turmeric is created equal. Regular turmeric powder in your pantry might help a little. But a leading pain doctor from Connecticut discovered a special turmeric extract that is 200 times more powerful than what you'd find in standard turmeric. And when he shared this turmeric hack with his patients, the results were shocking. This turmeric extract attacks pain at the source, turning it off like a light switch so that pain not only goes away, but it stays away. Dr. Josh, the brains behind it all, has spent over 20 years helping hundreds of thousands of Americans finally break free from constant aches and stiffness. And his turmeric hack has been the backbone of their success. Say goodbye to expensive surgeries, pain injections, or ineffective over-the-counter medications, and say hello to pain-free living. This is incredible stuff. Once I started taking it on a regular basis, I really noticed a difference. But again, you can't just take any old turmeric. So if you want to learn more about Dr. Josh, his turmeric hack, and the exact method for how to use it in your daily routine, just go to goldenrevive.com/Daily Cloud. The link is right below this video in the description. Just click it and start your journey towards a pain-free, healthier life. So when we were breaking and I said, oh, you can change your relationship with yourself, you can change your relationship with other people, even if this topic is making you a little unnerved, maybe you're curious enough to see what's going on, but you don't really believe it can happen. Well, I want to tell you, over the last 20 years, they have made such strides in understanding of the brain. It has been amazing. That's the only word I can use for it, amazing. You may have heard this term. I'm sure you've heard this term because I have the smartest, savviest people who watch this show, neuroplasticity. It means how your brain reshapes itself, it grows, it reforms based on what kind of stimulation it gets, what kind of information it gets, what kind of decisions you make. Because remember, when you perceive the world a certain way, your brain responds. It's why if you see something and you think it's scary, all of a sudden you'll have an adrenaline rush. Cortisol will start rushing through your body. Your body responds to what you think. And if you change how you think, you can change how your brain works. So you can learn at any age. So everything I'm teaching is not only relevant for you, it's relevant for the other people in your life. But please understand, this is not hocus pocus. It's based on solid science. Now, nobody that watches this show, nobody that's come to my seminars and workshops is going to be surprised by this one. No one who listens to my Unmasking the Abuser podcast is going to be surprised by this one. Integrity. Integrity is a magic bullet for your relationships, including your relationship with yourself. All it means is that you say what you'll do and you do what you say. And I've talked about the fact that you can start small. You say you're going to pick something up after work and you get home and you realize, I forgot. You don't even put down your keys. You know that if you're going to reshape your brain, if you're going to be the person you want to be, deserve to be, if you want to build that integrity, you have to keep your word. Anytime you say something, you have to keep your word. Unless there are all sorts of a hurricane. Or I went to a job interview, for instance, where somebody had goats that got loose on the freeway. If anybody knows the 405 in California, LA, golly gee, there were goats on the freeway. I couldn't get around the goats, so I was late. Still made it. You have to be like that unless there are goats or UFOs or a sudden windstorm that blows your car away. Unless your car won't start and you can't get an Uber, you do everything you can to always keep your word. This is the most important thing I can teach you. If more people had integrity, it would put me out of business as a social psychologist, which is fine with me. I would love to be an interior designer. So if I could do something else, that would be great. Now, here's another important thing. Don't announce it. Just do it. If you announce it and you start getting the rolled eyes from your teams or your partner's like, yeah, I've heard that before. You don't want anybody in this. This is between you and you. So when you decide I'm going to build my integrity, you don't say anything. You just find as many tips as you can for how to really be consistent with it. You do that, but you don't announce it. They will, believe me, they'll notice when you start to become a different person, a better version of yourself. And I would also advise this: build discipline into your daily routine. I don't know, has any of you ever gone to one of those Change Your Life in a Weekend seminars? I always go when I'm invited by people who've attended, who've paid a fortune to go away for 3 days to hopefully be transformed. I must admit, I've not really noticed many long-term transformations in these people, but it's good that they're trying. And on the last day, they always tell them, bring your friends and family, because they want to try to sell us on how great this group is. I always go. I want to see what kind of social psychology they have. I also listen to people who are really trying to help the public. They're not trying to scam you. They're not trying to pretend they invented everything wonderful. There's no deception. They're just trying to help. They also say this: build discipline into your daily routine. And what I hear most often from all of these sources is to start where you are. Start by making your bed every morning. Start by putting away the dishes and cleaning the dishes before you go to bed at night. Start by picking up your clothes and your papers so somebody else doesn't have to pick up after you. Start with something relatively small, but the discipline that you build will give you confidence. And without discipline, integrity doesn't work, because integrity requires discipline. Build it, but again, start small. Don't try to do everything all at once. And have realistic expectations for yourself and for others. If you have a group, if you are part of, have a problems with a group that was my number one customer base when I was in California, in Los Angeles, my number one customer base was people with mother-in-law problems. You have a terrible relationship with your mother-in-law. You're watching this so you can get a better relationship with that troublesome mother-in-law who's been driving you crazy for years. Be realistic. Again, start with becoming different yourself. And we're going to talk about being realistic about how much you can change, especially when it comes to other people. We're going to discuss that too. But even with yourself, if you try to do too much too quickly, you'll probably get discouraged and you'll stop. It's important, even if you do stop, even if you do get discouraged, you take a deep breath and you start again. But having realistic expectations can help you with that. And here's another thing. Here's another thing to start with. Please start handling your anger better. No yelling, name calling, threatening. I have mentioned several times, or more than several times on this program, that when you have integrity, you don't need to threaten. You don't need to yell. You give someone clear instructions. These actions will result in those consequences. And because you have integrity, which translates into people trusting your word, you can be very calm and say, if you do that, you are grounded until you're 18. I will give you no money. I'm taking your bicycle away. You will lose your phone for a month, whatever it happens to be. Now, it's also important with integrity. That's another conversation. When you tell someone actions and consequences, please don't go overboard, because then you'll be seen as an extremist and it can undo all your hard work. But if you tell someone something you've thought about, action and a consequence, they will believe you. But you can start now. Now, one of the things I wanted to remind you of, before you get angry, anger is often inspired by a primal feeling of threat. So it sends a signal to your body. Usually, before you get annoyed and angry enough to start expressing it, you feel it somewhere. It either makes your stomach tighten, or it makes your heart beat fast, or you find yourself clenching your fist, or you do something physical. You feel it physically. Start paying attention to that, because that is the secret to handling your anger. As soon as you feel that, know that you're about to get out of control. You're going to react. You want to respond, not react. So we're going to talk in a little while about what to do instead. But pay attention to your body. Pay attention to what you feel. Pay attention to how you feel. Think about, when was the last time you got really angry at someone? Where did you feel it? Where in your body did you feel it? When did it start? Think about that for a second. Swollen limbs, joint pain, inflammation, skin aging, and cognitive decline. Oh, wow. These are just a few of the awful side effects that you can experience due to poor blood circulation. To make matters worse, it's highly unlikely your blood circulation will correct itself on its own, which means your health issues will only continue to decline as you age. And popping ibuprofen isn't a solution to your pain. It's only temporary relief, and it's only masking the true problem, which is inflammation. New research proves there's a potent deep sea supernutrient tucked away 73 miles off the Antarctic coast, which is the hidden key to improving your blood circulation. Researchers are saying you should add this Antarctic supernutrient to your diet. I'm talking about omega-3 fatty acids, but not just any form of omegas. These particular omega-3 fatty acids are sourced from wild-caught krill. The omega-3 content from krill oil has been shown to support healthy blood pressure, circulation, brain health, as well as reduce inflammation, swelling, and joint pain. The benefits go on and on. In fact, some report it outperforms name brand pain relievers, and you can see and feel results in as little as 7 days. And krill doesn't have the dangerous side effects of ibuprofen. Right now, you can go to getkrill.com/dailyclout to learn more and get a special free shipping offer just for being a listener of the show. Better yet, for a limited time, you can grab Native Path Antarctic krill oil at up to 66% off plus free shipping. Just go to getkrill.com/dailyclout right now and grab your special offer. Now, when I talk about angry, did you think about it? Do you remember where you felt it in your body? That is really a secret to starting to control it. And remember, also remind yourself when you feel angry that your anger often comes from a perception of threat. So one of the things you can tell yourself, okay, I'm not under threat. This isn't a big deal. Let me calm myself down. Start paying attention to where you feel it. Tell if your heartbeat is increasing. You tell your heartbeat, slow down, I'm okay. An integrity reminder. Also remind yourself, no matter how you feel, no matter how annoying the other person is, you are always responsible for what you do and say. And as your integrity builds, you'll remember that. So find ways to calm yourself. Walking, breathing, mantras, like saying, this isn't a big deal, I'm okay, the traffic will clear eventually. Okay, that's just me. Bad traffic, slow pokes in the fast lane. Okay, it's not the biggest deal in the world. We'll all still get there. Tell yourself this isn't just find a different way of approaching the issue. Take a deep breath. And if you need to, one of the best things you can do is walk away from the situation until you can calm yourself. Never, ever, ever, a person of integrity never makes a decision under heightened circumstances, whether it's heightened positive or negative. You wait until you calm, and then you think rationally, logically, what are the repercussions of this? What's going to be the flow on of this? You don't make spur-of-the-minute decisions about important things. But walking in nature is so good for your mental health. It doesn't matter what kind of nature you're near. Walking in nature every day makes all the difference in the world. And I want you to do this. As a person of integrity, you're going to also, before you start working on your relationships with other people, you're going to figure out what you do wrong. Most of us are told many times, I have the kind of relatives who really don't hold back. You know what? You keep. Now, it's not helpful. One of the things I teach people when they come to me is don't use perennial words like always and every time. Make it specific and make it direct and make it immediate. So Last Thursday, when you said this to me, it really hurt my feelings. You do it that way. You don't say always, you don't claim forever on things. But they will have told you, the people around you will have told you what you're doing wrong. I want you to really sit down and figure out what it is. Because a better relationship with other people starts with you being a person of better character and a person of better self-control. That's the secret. Most of the time when you have information on having a better relationship with other people, they always focus on the other people. We're going to do social psychology always does by both sides. It doesn't ever just say this person needs to fix that. It's like that person does need to fix that and I need to fix this and I need to also fix my reaction to that person when they do that. So you're going to figure out what you do wrong. And because we've spoken many times about developing a growth mindset, all you have to do is go on YouTube. Look up Carol Dweck on YouTube. She talks about a growth mindset. And bizarre thing about a growth mindset is you can get one this afternoon, this evening, tomorrow morning. All you have to do is claim it. All you have to do is say, when something happens in my life, I will learn from it. I will keep at it until I get there. If something is a challenge or a struggle, okay, I just need more information. I will keep learning until I achieve what I need and I win in that situation. That's what you tell yourself. So all you do is claim it. And guess what? Guess who listens to you when you do that? Your own brain. So it will start firing in all sorts of directions where before, with a fixed mindset saying, well, I wasn't good at that, or that relationship is so toxic, it'll never get better. You believe you. So I want to talk to you about actually thinking differently. Even if the relationship is toxic, if it is valuable to you, I want you to try. And believe me, this is all stuff I do myself. People can call me a lot of names, hypocrites, not one of them. So it is really fantastic. And thank you, Angelo. Angelo said he reposted this stream. Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. Okay, I'm going to try to pronounce your last name. Don't not repost because I mispronounce it. It looks like Giannotti. Tell me if that's right. If the O is long, if it's Giannotti instead, please let me know. But thank you so much. But yes, growth mindset. Use your growth mindset to start fixing anything. Guess what? Everything you have, every problem you've got in your own mind is fixable. All of it. Everything. As long as you're above the ground instead of below it, you can fix it. I don't care if you're 97 and a half. And remember, people, especially your kids, will notice your actions, not your words. And again, please don't announce, I'm going to be a different person. I have a growth mindset now. They will just notice you taking a different approach. They will just notice you not yelling and screaming anymore. They will just notice you taking responsibility for mistakes that you make. Because personal integrity also requires if you muck up, you say, oops, I mucked up. Okay? One thing at a time. Don't try to do too much too fast. You could even say, okay, just think about it. If you decide you want to build your integrity and you're going to take one little task a day to improve about yourself, just think how different you will be a year from now. That's 365 days. Oh my goodness. You would be so different. And even if some days you have to repeat because you didn't quite get there, you still will be significantly different even in 3 months than you are right now. As long as you take it small, be really clear on what you want to achieve, remind yourself, even if it's challenging, you can get more information because somebody else has done it and they will tell you how to do it and do it more effectively. Now we get to the relationships with others. So now you're building your integrity. You're being realistic about what you can do and how quickly it will take, how much time you need to do it. what baby steps mean to you. You're looking online, you're reading things, you're reading growth mindset. You're just really self reflecting. When you're walking, instead of getting angry, you can self reflect. Okay, how could I handle this situation? When I get back, how do I handle that situation so that it's more productive? How do I demonstrate to people that I have integrity now? How do I talk to myself so that I don't feel so threatened every time somebody disagrees with me, even on small things? And please, if you need professional help, get it. Don't hesitate, but find a good person. Find a person who believes that you can do it too, not somebody who's going to tell you that you are a victim and nothing you do wrong is your fault because you grew up in XYZ situation. Don't get one of those people. They're not really going to help you. Get somebody that says, yeah, you can do this and I can help you do it. Somebody that will be a coach as you do this because you're strong and you know you can. Okay, so let's talk about your relationships with other people. Here's stepping back. Again, I asked you to think about whom you would want to have a better relationship with. I would suggest that everybody listening to this, before you decide how to fix the relationship, whether it's worth it, it could actually be simpler than you think. I want you to go to episode 11, where I discuss circles of intimacy. I give you all the questions to ask yourself about how you feel about that other person. You do one person at a time. And how, according to the way they treat you, how that person feels about you. And then sometimes the secret, I've found this, sometimes the secret is I just have to stop prioritizing that person so highly because I can't force someone to care about me. They have made it clear that I'm in the same level as an acquaintance. So I will treat them the same way. It doesn't change how I feel, but it changes my feelings of being taken advantage of and being hurt and being abused. It changes that. So figure out where you stand with everybody. If somebody is really important to you and you see perhaps that they have you on a different in a different circle, and it's really important to you to at least try to see if you can bring them in closer, that's fine. We're going to talk about that. I can tell you though, being somebody that they can trust, a person of integrity, somebody who's a person of the word, who takes responsibility for what they do wrong, it makes you much easier to have a relationship with. So but you need to know, is this person worth the effort? Really think about how much, because the first test with the circles of intimacy is, how do you really feel about these other people? It's going to take work to try to change a relationship with someone. Ask yourself, is it worth it? I know, isn't that shocking? Choose which relationships to fix. Now, some of you may be really confident, or you only have that one relationship that's haunting you. So you decide, I'm going to go for that one. Other people say, I'm new to this. I've not really done it before. Let me start with a relationship that's it's an acquaintance, but I see them a lot and it's a bit uncomfortable. Let me see what I can do to improve that. So that person's further away. You decide where you're going to start. Don't reinvent the wheel. In episode 15, your holiday survival kit, I talk a lot about how to interact with people to save yourself pain. So if the relationship that you're talking about is really painful and toxic, find out first before you put the effort in. Now, it's easiest always. I have this when people come to me as individuals, my marriage isn't working, people as couples, we're fighting too much, families, we're just all going in different directions, we're not prioritizing each other. Any of the reasons people come to me, The best way for it to work is if everybody prioritizes fixing that relationship. If you're trying to fix a relationship that is not a high priority for that other person, it is going to be a lot of effort on your part, and you may be disappointed at the end. However, if you follow the instructions about being true to yourself, building your integrity, building your discipline, doing that, even if that relationship never improves, you'll be so much better by the end that it will give you a bit of a shield against the pain. You won't feel it as much, it won't hurt quite as badly, and you'll have more to offer yourself. You'll have more to offer your other relationships where people are willing to prioritize you. I tell people never make someone a priority if you're not a priority to them. And the exception being teenagers, they just go through that. You just got to endure it and get through it. Okay. But even with teenagers, I really do think that a lot of people are letting their teenagers get away with so much that they're becoming young adults who aren't able to have healthy relationships because they have an expectation of all take and no give. So, but that's a whole different conversation. If you want to know about how to get your kids to be more giving people, to not be so selfish, to not set themselves up for future pain, we can talk about that as well. But remember, you also have an option. If you go in trying to improve a relationship and the other person won't put the effort in, you don't have to necessarily cut them out of your life. We don't do the either ors here. With the circles of intimacy, one of the things I like about it is it gives you options. You can just move them back a level so they're not quite as much of a priority as they were before. So you still have them in your life, but you're not prioritizing them to the same way, so you don't have the same expectations of what you get back from them. It really can save you pain over time. And when we talk about even your relationship with yourself, building your integrity and whatever, don't expect immediate perfection. You may have some backsliding. You may regress sometimes. It happens. Just keep going. Just keep going. It doesn't mean you failed. It doesn't mean you're not good at it. It just means you need to put a little extra effort in and you need to keep going. And with regard to your relationships with other people, don't tell them you have a deadline, but have a deadline. If you're going to make effort to improve your relationship with someone, make it a deadline in your mind of how much time you're going to give it, how much effort you're going to give it. And if they don't meet it, then again, you don't have to cut them out of your life unless you choose to do so. You can simply push them back a level or two with regard to how close they are to you emotionally. But have the deadline. Don't tell them that. This is private, just like the fact that you're building your integrity. This is private. This is something between you and you. Now, here's another issue that we've got. It is very hard to fix relationships when people have mental health issues. I'm not going to lie. It's not impossible, but it is extremely challenging because one of the things a lot of personality issues do is make the person extremely self-centered. So everything is about how they perceive the world, what they need, what they think they need, what they want. They really don't think about the impact of their behavior on other people, and it can make it very challenging to have a healthy relationship with them. And of course, when I'm talking about this, I'm talking about the cluster Bs. Now, if somebody has an intellectual disability, if somebody has a psychosis or neurosis, they're OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, or they're psychopathic or something, you probably know that. But I talk about the cluster Bs because cluster B people are still functional. A lot of people have cluster Bs and they're walking around. They can be successful at their jobs. They can be very charming, but it is very challenging Trying to have a healthy relationship with someone with a cluster B personality disorder, it's both draining and it's tough to fix. Now, what are the cluster Bs? Now, bipolar is sometimes included in the cluster Bs, but I did some research on this, and it's not strictly a cluster B personality disorder, but the reason it's often included is somebody that has bipolar disorder where they have dramatic mood swings. They used to call it manic depression. So they'd go through a manic happiness phase, and then they go through a manic depression phase, and then they go up and they go down and they go up. It is very unusual for somebody who's bipolar to not also have at least one other cluster B personality disorder. And that includes antisocial, borderline, histrionic, and narcissistic. You want to know more about that? Go to episodes 30 to 32 of Heart and Mind with Dr. Dina McMillan, where I'm talking about why are people woke. And I and many clinical psychologists have noted that the strategies, the principles, the way things are done by the progressive left, especially at the more extreme level, is very conducive to drawing in people with cluster B personality disorders. It's very conducive to triggering them so that they have an emotional, super emotional, or even aggressive reaction. So when you're talking about the type of leftists who were formerly, I guess they're saying now they don't like being called woke, but they called themselves that. I'm not sure about that. It's a lot easier. It's shorter to write. Look up the episodes, watch the episodes. It's only a few hours of your life, and it will give you crucial information. It can even help you determine if somebody that you have a problem with as far as relationships goes, if the problem is due to the fact that they've got a cluster B personality disorder. So you will change your expectations on how effective your efforts can be, because you know that it is a deeper issue than just something that you said to them in the past. Now, narcissism is the biggie. Everybody, if you put narcissism in Google, golly, the number of podcasts, books, and articles on narcissism are through the roof. It's a very popular cluster B personality disorder right now. However, it includes both overt and covert. Most of the people talking about narcissism aren't talking about covert narcissism, the kind of hidden narcissism, the quiet narcissism, the little ticking time bomb narcissism. And I promised you last week that I would actually tell you about that a little bit here. So we talked about the overt types of narcissism in episode 28 of Heart and Mind with Dr. Dina McMillan. It's even entitled, Are You Tangled Up with a Narcissist? And we talk about it in depth and what you can do to try to detangle yourself, to try to handle that relationship, especially if they're family or if they're a long-term friend. You may not want to just get them out of your life. But again, I think one of the ways I differ from so many other people is that I don't say if this person is a problem, you just get rid of them. I give you options before you get to that point where you can just push them further away and then really plan out how to deal with them in the circumstances where you have to interact. Covert narcissism is just as problematic for a genuine relationship. What we have here, you have a lot of women who are covert narcissists. Now, there are men that do this too, but I see it more often in women. It's the perennial damsel in distress. Now, Karen Samuelson talks about abusive relationships. She's an author who talks about abusive relationships. And she describes a covert narcissist when she talks about people who've had some sort of traumatic event, some difficult event in their life, and they constantly want to talk about it. They look for new people so that they can tell the story. She calls them entertainers, where they just go on and on and on. A lot of them are covert narcissists. They gain a sense of identity from having gone through difficult circumstances. That's how they get attention. That's how they get sympathy. They also tend to be very passive aggressive. If somebody is not as responsive, they tend to try to undermine them, but not in an overt way. They will do backhanded things. They're also hypersensitive to criticism, like all narcissists. Nobody likes criticism, but they will get extremely upset. They won't let it go. It just goes around and around and around in their heads, and they become often quite vindictive and angry. They also are emotionally manipulative. Now, with the overt narcissist, they will often use a range of emotions to try to manipulate people. With the covert narcissist, it's usually sympathy. Oh, I'm falling apart without you. I'm going to hurt myself if you're not here. Nothing will happen. I won't eat. I'll go on a hunger strike. This is the kind of thing. And they want to be admired and validated for whatever they went through. But they have no genuine empathy. And I want to give a brief example. I know we don't have a lot of time, but I've seen two cases. When I was in Australia, I saw two cases of women who had terrible things happen to them. And one of the women just seemed to revel. Her whole face lit up because she was getting so much attention around this terrible event. Most people would have been a puddle on the floor, but she was always well made up and poised and could talk about it, and just, you could see her eyes glowing. She just reveled in the attention. And as much as they expect empathy and sympathy, covert narcissists don't really have genuine empathy or sympathy for anybody else. They always want to bring everything back around to what they suffered, and everything is about their suffering. They will also use gaslighting. They'll try to convince you that something that you saw happen or knew happened didn't happen. I even saw this on television from the same individual when an official report came out about what happened, and the explosive anger, that didn't happen, when there were so many records showing that it had. The fake vulnerability and difficulty with relationship boundaries. Anybody that tries to reach a hand out to a covert narcissist, they just don't understand normal boundaries. So they can be very draining, and they often end up getting rejected because they don't understand the boundaries. Constant need for attention. Like the woman that I was talking about, I remember being at an event to raise money for domestic violence. And this woman was just going from person to person, talking about all the horrible things her ex had done to her, starting from when they first got together. Not recognizing, a lot of people are looking at her and saying, why did you stay with him? You weren't even attached to him. You didn't live together. There was no bond. You saw he was horrible. Why did you stay? And a lot of them have superficial charm, but here's why they stayed. They often place themselves, I said they are perennial damsels in the distress if they're women, or I don't know what you'd call a Mr. in distress. We don't really have a term for it. But they often place themselves in emotionally risky situations, or even physically risky situations, so that when things go wrong, they can be the victim again and get lots of attention. Now, the fact that the woke ideology really validates victimhood to the point where we have people with a psychological condition now called tendency for interpersonal victimhood, where it's being glorified. This is heaven to covert narcissists, because they get attention. The more things they can say that they're victims from, the more attention they get from their group. And here's how to spot them. As with the woman that I'm talking about, where she got angry when the official report belied her interpretation of events, which I had been hearing from the back because I work with judiciary, law enforcement, and that sort of thing, do training for them. They were all saying, no, this is not what happened. Even when it occurred, I picked up something. As did a few friends of mine. They're like, the way she responded when that disaster hit was just off. She should have been more upset. She seemed more interested in the fact that people were paying attention to her instead of the fact that this disaster occurred in her life. I can't even mention what it was because if I do, everyone in Australia will know whom I'm talking about. But it was off. It was off. And the more background information I got on this woman, the more I found that this was a pattern with her. Constantly getting involved with people that were horrendous and then seeking attention from people to feel sorry for her and to give her things and it was just off. But think about it. Do you know somebody when disaster strikes, they're always putting themselves in bad situations, won't listen to advice when you say that's risky. But when it hits, the way they respond doesn't seem quite genuine to you. They seem to be glorifying the attention they're getting. They seem to be enjoying it way too much. Now, before we end, we only have a few minutes left. Before we end, I want to emphasize this doesn't seem like a whole lot of stuff, and it's not. But if you do this, you will save yourself so much trouble. Just looking at what I am sharing with my clients and have done over the years, this is the basic key information I give them. And when they follow it, their relationships improve significantly, not just with the person they were targeting, but in general. So if you do this, especially if you develop a growth mindset, if you make a commitment to become a person of integrity, where you have strong principles, you say what you'll do, you do what you say, you have no compunctions about saying no when something is wrong. You don't necessarily make a big song and dance. You don't have to announce everything. But when people ask you to do something that you believe to be wrong, you just quietly refuse to participate. You don't make a big deal out of it. And you are a person of your word. You become very trusted. And the most important person who will trust you is you. You'll notice discipline is easier. They feed each other. If you have self-discipline, it's easier to build integrity. If you have integrity, it feeds that discipline. If you tell yourself, anybody else have a Fitbit? I've got a Fitbit. If you tell yourself, I'm going to get my steps in today, even if you're tired at the end of the day, you listen to you. So you still put your shoes on, you go for a walk. You're like, oh my God, I've been so busy. I personally work in 5 time zones. So it gets a little crazy sometimes. But I tell myself, I need to get out in nature. I put those shoes on. I'll feel better. I'll just walk around the block, I tell myself. At least I'll walk around the block. Then when I get out there, it's like, oh, it's such a nice day. Let me just go a little bit further and I'll just admire the trees. Okay. And then I look up and I've gotten my steps for the day. So this is a way to do this. But here are 2 other keys that can help you today with your relationships. I said already, do what you can to handle that anger. Really, that just ruins everything. If you have an argument with someone, and arguments happen even if you're not yelling, don't argue in front of other people. Okay, that includes your children. You can disagree and say, well, I don't quite agree with that. If it's going to get back and forth, and especially if it's going to get a bit heated, excuse yourself, go in another room, do not argue in front of people. And of course, this came to mind due to a current political situation where 2 people that I admire enormously keep arguing in public. Don't do it. Don't argue in front of other people, and try not to make other people choose sides. Don't do that. Have your argument, have your disagreement, because you may forgive each other, and it's going to cause all kinds of turmoil to anybody that got involved in it. Now, any questions or comments, remember, you can contact me all sorts of ways. Here also, I mentioned that I work with individuals, couples, and families. My Ethical Strategic Solutions also has three flagship programs. It has the Unmasking the Abuser, which is the world's only targeted training and education program that offers both prevention and improved response for domestic abuse and violence. Healing the Rift is a non political, effective anti bias program. Gambling harm reduction. Gambling is a bigger issue than most people think, and it's also linked to domestic violence. Online or in person education and training available. Screenshot this and get in touch. Or you can contact me on X. Everybody contacts me on X. I'm always on X. Or you can email me. Here's my email address. And remember, within the next 2 weeks, I'll have my new website up and I'll announce it on here so that you'll know. So thank you for being here with me. Thank you for joining me on Heart and Mind. Please let me know what you think. Please let me know if there's a topic that is of interest to you or something you need. Get in touch. And I will see you next week. No more boring Tuesday.